It's well known around the world that the United States lied about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq in order to pave the way to war and occupation there. The widespread revulsion of tens of millions of people over these blatant lies would, you'd think, lead the media to be all over any credible allegations that something similar was at work. Well, if you thought that, you'd be wrong, because the mainstream media has all but ignored very credible accusations that the United States lied about WMDs again to attempt to deepen U.S. involvement in the Syrian civil war. The accusations center around the alleged chemical weapons attack in Douma. Widely circulated images of those allegedly killed in that attack became the basis for a United States airstrike against Syria as Western media talking heads and military shills brayed for more war. Since the very beginning, however, there were serious questions about the nature of the attack, whether it actually happened, or whether it happened in a way totally different from what was alleged to have happened. The first reason many people doubted the allegations was the timeline of it all. Just before the attack, the Syrian government had been right on the verge of retaking the last rebel stronghold in Douma. The United States, which of course is the world's largest, most powerful military, was declining to intervene more aggressively than they already had to turn the tide of the war towards the rebels. Unless the Syrian government used chemical weapons, they said, the so-called U.S. Red Line. So just off the bat, Syria would be risking literally all of the gains they had made in the war up to that point for no conceivable military gain at all. Not impossible, of course, but also the exact opposite of logical. On top of that, there were a range of questions around a number of details of the attack that seemed inconsistent with the initial claim of a sarin gas attack. And once that story started to look less tenable, the media quickly moved to a chlorine gas attack allegation. And there was more evidence there, but even publicly available reports raised serious questions regarding the concentrations of chlorine involved and the surfaces that they were found on, which were entirely consistent with normal civilian uses of the chemical. Ultimately, the whole story seemed to be wrapped up, though, in March of 2019 when the OPCW released what it deemed its final report, which stated that there were reasonable grounds to assume there was a chemical weapons attack. Case closed, right? Wrong. In fact, since May of 2019, a range of testimony and documents from whistleblowers have emerged from within the OPCW, including the team in Douma, that the final report was not, in fact, the final conclusions of the team. Journalist Aaron Mate, who's almost single-handedly kept this story alive, has laid out that the leaks have revealed a number of things, including, quote, senior OPCW officials re-edited the Douma investigators' initial report to produce a version that sharply deviated from the original. And also, he revealed that saying the final conclusion of the team was a chlorine gas attack was not, in fact, their final conclusion. And as the whistleblowers have laid out, they also left open the possibility of a non-chemical attack, which is, of course, notable because other experts from the OPCW and a NATO member state conducted a toxicology review at the team's request and noted that the symptoms observed, quote, were inconsistent with exposure to chlorine and no other obvious candidate chemical causing the symptoms could be identified. And there was also the fact that, quote, the author of the initial report protested revisions in an email expressing his gravest concern that the altered version misrepresented the facts and undermined the credibility of the quote-unquote final report. And when this and other information emerged questioning the initial narrative, the OPCW went into spin mode to discredit the whistleblowers, some of whom have publicly testified. They actually tried to say that one of the whistleblowers was not even on the team when public documentation easily available showed that he was, in fact, on the team. Even more, the two main whistleblowers have been highly praised in internal documents at the OPCW. One of the whistleblowers was referred to in relationship to an internal evaluation as having, quote, the highest rating possible. I, that being the person doing the evaluation, consider him one of the best of our inspection team leaders. The other whistleblower was described in 2018 by internal documents as having, quote, contributed the most to the knowledge and understanding of chemical weapons chemistry applied to inspections. In other words, the allegations being made by them should carry a very high degree of plausibility. But despite all of this, the mainstream media has not in any way taken these claims seriously. Almost no mainstream media outlet has even reported that any of this is happening. And some, like The Guardian, have tried to dismiss the entire thing as a Russian disinformation campaign. And all of this is clear evidence, if there ever was any, that when it comes to Syria, the mainstream media seems more than happy to do what it can to promote U.S. war propaganda, as opposed to trying to find the truth.